In the shadows of modern cities, where neon light bleeds into silence, the dead are not always at rest. Welcome to Ghosts of Asia, a channel where ancient spirits slip through the cracks of glass towers and haunted whispers echo inside glowing phone screens. These are not just tales from forgotten villages or cursed mountains. No, these are stories unfolding now in apartments like yours, on apps you still use, in messages you've ignored at 2:42 a.m. Tonight's story is one of digital rituals, vanished neighbors, and a group chat that does not belong to any server. A place where ghosts do not knock, they type, and all they ask for is a reply. But some doors don't need keys, just permission.
Seoul was always loud, always moving, always awake. But for Mina, the city felt like a ghost, buzzing just out of reach, muffled and distant, like sound underwater. It had been 3 months since she left her hometown in Busan. 3 months of instant noodles, crowded subway rides, and part-time jobs that barely covered tuition. 3 months of telling herself she was fine. She wasn't. Her old apartment was too expensive, too loud. She hated thin walls and neighbors who stumbled home drunk at 3 a.m. So when she found the new place, an old building tucked between a shuttered laundromat and a 24-hour fried chicken shop, it felt like a blessing. Quiet, cheap, still. Unit 502, 5th floor. No elevator. But the landlord gave her a discount if she signed a 6-month lease on the spot. He even offered free Wi-Fi. "Don't talk to anyone on the 5th floor," he muttered as she handed over the deposit. She laughed awkwardly. She thought he was joking. The building was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that made you hyper-aware of your own breathing. The stairwell lights clicked on a second too late, flickering in and out. Each floor had its own smell. The 3rd reeked of grease, the 4th of mildew. The 5th floor smelled metallic, cold, sharp, like rust soaked in humidity. Her door, 502, had a stubborn lock. The first time she turned the key, it caught halfway, like the door didn't want to be opened. That night, she moved in with 2 suitcases and a worn-out stuffed cat from middle school. The apartment was small and empty. The walls were bare. The floorboards creaked hollowly, as if there was space beneath them, space that shouldn't have been there. She told herself it was the pipes, or rats. Rats were better than what her imagination could offer. At 9:14 p.m., her phone buzzed. "You've been added to Songwoo Upti 5F group chat." She didn't remember joining, but the landlord had mentioned it, said it was used by residents for maintenance issues, noise complaints, and missing deliveries. The first message was from someone named Mr. Bay, 504. "Whoever keeps dragging furniture around at midnight, stop. Some of us sleep early." Then a reply from Sunhae, 503. "That wasn't me. Maybe the guy's upstairs again." Then a system message appeared. "Room 501 has joined the chat." Mina frowned. Room 501? She'd seen that unit. It was sealed shut with heavy chains across the door and a faded city notice taped to the wall. Something about an unresolved incident. But before she could click, the message disappeared. Gone, like it had never existed. She assumed it was a glitch. The app looked outdated, with clunky buttons and a slow refresh rate. Still, she typed a polite hello. "Hi, this is Mina from 502. Just moved in." 2 typing dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. She set the phone down. That night, she couldn't sleep. At 2:11 a.m., she woke to a sound she couldn't identify. Not footsteps, not knocking. Something softer. A slow dragging noise, like cloth across wooden floors, followed by a long, drawn-out sigh, so deep it sounded like someone had been holding their breath for hours. She sat up, heart racing. Her phone screen glowed softly from the nightstand. It vibrated. A new message. 2:42 a.m. Room 501. "Please, unlock my door. I've been trapped for so long." Mina's blood ran cold. She stared at the screen, unblinking. Was she still dreaming? The message didn't go away. Someone else responded. "This isn't funny. 501 is vacant. Who is this?" Another user sent "blocked." Silence followed. Mina kept staring. The more she looked, the more the words seemed to shift, as if the letters weren't just text, but some kind of pattern, a symbol, a key. She closed the app, turned her phone face down, but the dragging noise continued, slower, closer. The next morning, she knocked on the landlord's door. "Did someone move into 501? "No," he said too quickly. "That unit's sealed. Been that way for years." "Why?" He scratched his arm. Long, red, deliberate marks, like he'd been doing it for days. "You said not to talk to people on the 5th floor. Why?" "Did I?" He blinked, confused. "You did." He stared at her, silent for a long moment. Then finally, he said, "Just because the door is locked doesn't mean it's empty." Back in her apartment, Mina tried to focus on homework, but the room felt heavier than before, like the air itself was thick, slow, watching. Her phone flickered once, then went black. When it turned back on, the app was already open. The group chat had new messages. No usernames, no profile pictures, just lines of text. "Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Reply to unlock! Reply to unlock! Reply to unlock!" The screen glitched. The letters jittered as if trying to escape the screen. The app force-closed on its own. Mina stared at her phone, pulse thudding in her ears. She deleted the app, but the icon came back within minutes. That night, she didn't sleep. From the hallway, through the cracks in her door, she thought she heard it again. Typing. Not hers. On her phone. On her third night, Mina met one of her neighbors, Sun-hee from 503. She was small, energetic, and wore a bright pink hoodie with a cartoon dog on the front. They ran into each other near the trash bins. "You saw it, right? The message?" Sun-hee asked, her voice hushed. Mina hesitated. "Room 501? Sun-hee nodded. "It's not a prank." "What is it then?" "It happened to the guy before you. He lived in 502 too. Replied to the message. 2 days later, his door was wide open. No sign of him. Just his phone. Still logged in." "What did the police say?" "They said he ran away, but he left everything. His shoes, his wallet, even his shadow." Mina felt a chill ripple down her spine. Sun-hee leaned in close. "Don't reply. even if it says your name, even if it begs. Once you reply, it knows you're listening. That night, Mina taped her phone shut. At 2:42 a.m., the sheets on her bed shifted, like someone had sat down beside her. And across the room, under the cloth covering her phone, the screen lit up.
The next morning, Mina stared at her phone like it was a loaded weapon. She hadn't untaped it yet. The screen glowed faintly through the thin strip of gauze she'd wrapped around it, as if it wanted her to look, as if the thing inside was waiting. She knew it was irrational. It was just an app, just a group chat, just words. But fear didn't care about logic. Sun Hee's warning kept playing in her mind. Once you reply, it knows you're listening. Mina reached out, hand trembling, and slowly peeled off the tape. The screen lit up instantly, as if it had been awake the whole time. The group chat icon was right there, middle of the screen, bold and waiting. She didn't open it. Instead, she muted notifications, disabled background data, and tried to uninstall the app again. It refused. Every time she tapped uninstall, the loading circle spun and spun, then nothing. Like the app was pretending to leave, only to remain exactly where it was, mocking her. She turned the phone off and tossed it across the room, but a few seconds later, it vibrated. Once, then again. Mina didn't pick it up. She went to class that day pretending nothing was wrong. She rode the train, listened to music, sat through lectures, but nothing sank in. Her mind kept drifting back to that message. Please, unlock my door. Even the way it was written had weight. Not angry, not threatening. It sounded tired, hollow, like someone who had stopped screaming and was now just whispering, hoping to be heard. She hated that it made her feel something, that it sounded human. Back at the apartment, she avoided her phone for hours. The sun dipped below the skyline. The hallway outside darkened. Her phone vibrated again. She finally gave in. One glance. Just one. She turned it over. A new message from room 501. 2:42 a.m. I remember your voice. Mina's mouth dried. She hadn't spoken in the chat since that first hello. Had she ever said anything out loud? A second message came seconds later. You were kind. Then another. You replied once. Just once. That's all I needed. Her fingers hovered over the screen. This wasn't right. It wasn't logical. Apps didn't behave this way. There were no servers, no history logs. The messages didn't even have timestamps when she scrolled back. Everything before 2:42 a.m. each night vanished. She opened the settings, tried to track app permissions. There were none. No data, no developer information, not even a file name. It simply existed. Her hands trembled. A new message appeared, no alert, just there. You don't have to open the door. Just say you see me. Mina locked the screen. She didn't sleep. She didn't dare, because that night the sounds changed. It wasn't dragging anymore. It was scratching from inside the wall, directly behind her bed. The next morning, the building was quieter than usual. No one watered plants in the hallway, no doors opened, no neighbors shuffled by with plastic bags of groceries. Mina stepped out to check her mailbox. The air felt colder, still. And then she noticed it. The door to room 503 was slightly open. Sun-hee's unit. She knocked gently. Sun-hee? No answer. She pushed the door open a little more. Inside, the apartment was untouched. Shoes by the entrance, slippers turned neatly toward the hallway, a pink hoodie hanging on the chair. But no sign of Sun-hee. And on the table, her phone. Still unlocked, still logged into the group chat. The last message on screen chilled Mina to her core. Thank you. Room 502, you're next. She backed away, heart pounding. From somewhere behind her, a whisper slithered through the air. It didn't come from the hallway, it came from her phone. She looked down. Her screen was on, but she hadn't touched it. The group chat had opened itself, and there was a message waiting. It's dark in here. Can someone else reply? Mina turned and ran back to her unit. She slammed the door, locked it, bolted it. She sat with her back against it, panting. For hours she didn't move, until the sun rose and the apartment turned golden and warm and ordinary again. But it didn't feel ordinary anymore, not when the group chat was still open, not when room 501 was still typing. She called the police that afternoon. She didn't mention ghosts, she didn't mention curses, she just told them, "My neighbor is missing. Room 503. Her door was open. She's not there." They came. They looked around, took notes. One officer asked if Sun-hee had any mental illness. Another asked if she had a boyfriend. Mina told them about the chat. They asked her to show it. She handed over her phone. They stared at the app, then at each other. "What app is this?" one asked. "I don't know," Mina said. "It was already on my phone." They tried to screenshot it. Nothing happened. They tried to share it. The app closed itself. They tried to record video. The screen stayed blank. Then the younger officer, the one holding the phone, received a new message from room 501. "Will you help me too?" He blinked. His face went pale. "I didn't type anything," he whispered. The senior officer grabbed the phone, then looked at Mina. "We'll follow up," he said. "Let us know if your neighbor comes back." They left with her number. That night, Mina heard someone crying in the hallway. She didn't open the door. And this time, her phone didn't vibrate. It was already on, already open. Room 501 had sent a photo. Not a file, not a normal image, just a black square with one thing visible. A reflection. Her hallway. Her door. Someone standing outside it, looking in. By the next day, Mina had removed every mirror in her apartment, even the small one above the sink. She covered it with a towel. She didn't like the way reflections moved lately, like they were slower than they should be, like they were watching her more than mirroring her. The photo still burned in her memory. Someone had been outside her door at 2:42 a.m., and the group chat had shown it before it happened. That was the part she couldn't explain, couldn't rationalize. The chat had turned her phone into a window, no, into a door, and now something was trying to come through. That morning, she deleted every app, factory reset the phone, changed the SIM card, bought a new number. It didn't matter. The group chat came back. Same name, same members, and room 501 was still there. typing. She went to a phone store, told the clerk her device had a virus, something strange, maybe malicious. The clerk, a teenager chewing gum, ran a scan and frowned. "There's nothing here," he said. "No malware, no spyware, no third-party apps." He handed the phone back, shrugged. "It's clean." Mina stared at it. The screen was blank, then flickered, just once. She left without another word. That night she stayed up. She wanted to see it happen. She sat on the floor, phone in hand, watching the group chat in real time. It was silent all evening, just archived messages from neighbors, long gone, most of them unread. Until 2:42 a.m. The chat unfroze. It always happened at that exact time, like something was waiting. The interface twitched, just for a second. Then a message appeared. "Room 501. Still awake?" Mina's thumb hovered over the keyboard. She said nothing. Another message. "You always watch, you never speak. That's not fair." She stared at the screen, holding her breath. The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared, then again. "Room 501. I'm cold. Room 501. I remember the warmth, before the door closed, before the silence." Mina closed her eyes. She thought of the rumors, of the tenant who had died in 501. Eyes scratched out, door locked from the inside. They'd said he died clutching his phone. No one knew how long he'd been there before the neighbors noticed the smell. The door had been sealed ever since, and yet he was here, texting, begging, typing. "Room 501. Don't leave me alone again. Room 501. You were kind once. Just say something. I'll stop if you say something. Or I'll knock again." Mina turned the phone off, but it didn't go dark. The screen remained lit, even without power. And then the screen began to tap, all on its own, letter by letter. "Room 501. Tapping is replying too." She threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall, screen cracking down the center. But the group chat was still open, still active, still typing. She left the apartment the next morning, packed a bag, went to stay at a friend's place across town, didn't explain why, didn't take the phone, didn't look back. For 2 days, she didn't dream, didn't hear tapping, didn't wake at 2:42. She thought maybe it was over. Until her friend's TV flickered at night. Until the hallway camera at the front door pinged a motion alert, and the still image showed someone standing outside, wearing Mina's hoodie. Face missing. Just a blur, like a bad compression artifact, or like something that didn't belong to the realm of sight. The friend screamed, called the police, but by the time they arrived, the front door was wide open, and Mina's phone was back on the table, right where she'd left her coffee. Still cracked, still glowing, still open to the chat. And one new message had arrived. From room 501. "I missed you." Mina didn't sleep again. She began searching the internet, Korean forums, Reddit, old archived posts about haunted apps, cursed buildings, digital ghosts. Most were garbage. But one post caught my eye. A thread titled, "My apartment's group chat keeps messaging me from an empty unit." It was dated 3 years ago. Same building, same floor, different name, but the same structure, same pattern. The messages always began at 2:42 a.m., always from room 501, always a plea. The user stopped replying after a few posts. People in the thread asked what happened. Some joked, some mocked. Then silence. The user's account had been deleted. She scrolled to the bottom of the archived thread. A reply had appeared months later. No username, no profile picture. One message. You're next. The IP was traced back to her building, Unit 502, her unit. That night, the group chat glitched. The text warped, letters reversed, timestamps vanished. Then, her own name appeared in the chat. Mina has joined the group. Mina is typing. Her fingers were still. She hadn't moved, but the message field filled in anyway, as if invisible hands were typing through her. The sentence appeared. I'm still here. She screamed and yanked the battery from the phone. The screen went black, but from the wall behind her came 3 soft knocks. Mina wasn't the first. She knew that now. The messages, the glitching screens, the vanishing replies, they weren't new. They were recurring. And whoever or whatever lived inside that group chat had been waiting a long time. Waiting for someone to listen. Waiting for someone to reply. That night, Mina couldn't stay in her apartment. She took a cab to a 24-hour cafe downtown, the kind with dim yellow lights and jazz that played a little too slow. She ordered a coffee she wouldn't drink and stared out the window, watching rain gather on the glass. At 2:42 a.m., her phone lit up, even though it was turned off. The battery was still in her coat pocket. The screen cracked open like an eye. The app was already there, waiting. But it wasn't her being spoken to this time. A new message appeared, not addressed to her. From room 501. She answered me, finally. Then another. She was kind, like you. Then, I'm with her now. Mina's breath caught. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She didn't touch it, didn't dare. More messages arrived. She said yes. She unlocked it. She let me in. She let me in. She let me in. The words repeated, stacking on top of each other, flooding the chat in overlapping lines of text until the whole screen turned black. Then everything stopped. Just one new message appeared. Check room 504. Mina returned to the building before dawn. The rain had stopped. The street was slick and empty, the sky a dull gray. She climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. When she reached the 5th floor, everything was silent. She turned toward room 504, Mr. Bay's unit. The door was open, not wide, but just enough. Enough to see that the lights were off inside. She called out, "Mr. Bay?" No response. She pushed the door a little more. The hinge creaked softly. The air that escaped from inside was stale, dry, like a place that had been locked for years. And there, in the middle of the apartment, on the floor, was a phone. Still on, still glowing, still connected to the group chat. But it wasn't Mr. Bay's phone. It was pink, with a cracked screen. Soon-hee's. Mina backed away, heart pounding. Soon-hee had lived in 503. Why was her phone in 504? Her hand trembled as she picked it up. The chat was frozen on one message. From room 501. Thank you. Below it, another line appeared as Mina watched. Room 502. You're next. She dropped the phone, ran back to her apartment, locked the door, and cried for the first time in weeks. She didn't leave her room for 2 days, didn't eat, didn't check her phone, didn't speak to anyone. But the messages kept coming. Through the television static, through her laptop's audio jack, even when unplugged, through the shadows under her door. They didn't need the app anymore. The invitation had already been sent, and she had looked. Looking was enough. Replying was permission. And someone, soon he, had replied. She found the original chat logs that night, or what was left of them. Buried deep in the phone's hidden folders, under layers of encrypted files. Most were corrupted, but a few remained. They weren't in the app, not anymore. They were embedded in system logs, old screenshots, glitched backups. One photo was dated 6 months before Mina moved in. It showed a message from room 501, same timestamp, 2:42 a.m., but the message was different. "Hello, is anyone awake?" And below it, someone had replied. A girl named Jiun from room 504. "I can hear you," she had typed. One reply. That was all. The rest of the thread was missing. The next image was a photo taken from the hallway camera a week later. Room 504's door was wide open. Jiun was never seen again. Mina remembered now. That room had been vacant when she moved in. The landlord said the tenant left suddenly, no forwarding address, no belongings taken. He said it like it didn't matter, like it happened often, like she was supposed to forget. And maybe that was the point. Maybe every reply gets erased, along with the person who typed it, deleted from memory, from records, from the building itself. The only thing left behind was the phone and the open door. That night, Mina made a decision. She opened the chat. Room 501 was waiting, typing. "Will you help me?" She didn't answer. Instead, she typed one word. "Why?" It sent automatically. Her chest tightened. The reply came instantly. The screen flickered, then another message. "Because you're still here." The screen flickered, then another message. "I can't leave unless someone stays." And then, "You've seen me. That's enough." Mina felt a chill run through her veins. Her fingers typed again, this time on their own, like someone else had taken hold of her hands. "What happens if I stay?" Room 501 replied. "You stop being alone." She tore the battery out of the phone. This time, the screen stayed black, but her reflection in the window kept typing.
It was 3:03 a.m. when Mina finally opened her eyes again. She didn't remember falling asleep, didn't remember lying down. All she remembered was the message. Room 501. "You've seen me. That's enough." Now her apartment was completely silent, not a peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind of silence that feels aware, heavy, breathing. She sat up slowly. The air felt colder than before. The temperature had dropped without reason. Her breath curled in front of her in soft, white mist. She looked around. Nothing moved. But her phone was glowing. It was across the room where she'd left it, still without its battery, still cracked, still on. She stood and approached it slowly, like it might bite. The screen was lit with a new message. Room 501. "You've seen me. That's enough." Now her apartment was completely silent, not a peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind of silence that feels aware, heavy, breathing. She sat up slowly. The air felt colder than before. The temperature had dropped without reason. Her breath curled in front of her in soft, white mist. She looked around. Nothing moved, but her phone was glowing. It was across the room where she'd left it, still without its battery, still cracked, still on. She stood and approached it slowly, like it might bite. The screen was lit with a new message. Room 501, you're next. The words weren't typed in the usual chat box. They were burned into the screen, faint at first, then clearer, sharper, as if something was pressing them into the glass from the inside. She reached out with shaking hands and picked the phone up. No input, no response, just that single phrase, "You're next." Then, beneath it, new text appeared, line by line. Do not leave the room. Do not open the door. Do not reply again. The screen flickered violently. Then a final message appeared. You already did. At 4:11 a.m., Mina heard the first knock. Not on her door, from inside her apartment. Somewhere deep within the wall. 3 sharp taps, like bone against wood. She backed away slowly, hands trembling. Another knock, this time from the closet, then the sink, then the corner of the ceiling, like something was crawling under the paint, testing every edge, looking for a way through. The walls began to creak, not loudly, subtly, like a whisper through concrete. She held her breath. Then her phone buzzed. Despite having no SIM card, no battery, the screen came to life with a new message. I've waited so long. Then, can I come in now? Mina ran, out the door, down the stairs. She didn't even stop for shoes. Each step echoed unnaturally, like the stairwell had expanded, become deeper, darker. The lights flickered, then cut out entirely. Somewhere above her, a voice echoed, faint, distorted, genderless. Room 502, Mina, stop running. She didn't stop, not until she hit the lobby door, slammed it open, and ran into the street. She turned back only once. The hallway window on the 5th floor was glowing, and something stood in it. Not quite human, not quite shadow, just wrong. She spent the next day at a police station, hands still shaking. She tried to tell them everything, the chat, the messages, the missing girl, the phone that wouldn't die. They didn't believe her, but they listened, and they took the phone, or tried to, because once the officer brought it into the evidence locker, every electronic system in the building crashed. Power, cameras, radio, phones rang without callers, screens went black, and the app installed itself on every unlocked device in the room. The power came back 15 minutes later. Mina was gone. So was the phone. She didn't remember leaving, didn't remember how she ended up back in her apartment, but she was there, in bed, like nothing had happened, except something had. The lock on her front door had been broken from the inside, and someone had written on her wall in dust, "Don't run again." At 2:42 a.m., the group chat lit up, but it wasn't room 501 who spoke this time. It was her. Her name was there, her icon, her room number. Mina, 502. Hello? She didn't type it. She watched her screen in horror as more lines appeared. Mina, 502.
I don't want to be alone. Mina, 502. Let's talk. Mina, 502. Let's talk. Mina, 502. Let's talk. She tried to delete the messages. She couldn't. She tried to leave the group. She couldn't. She tried to power off the phone, but her reflection on the screen was still blinking, still typing, and it wasn't her anymore. In the days that followed, she stopped leaving her apartment. She taped the windows shut, removed every bulb that flickered, threw out every mirror, but it didn't help. At night, the chat grew louder, not just in her phone, in her head. Whispers, soft at first, like overheard conversations in another room, but then louder, clearer, and they all said the same thing. Let us in. Let us in. Let us in. She wrote everything down in a notebook, trying to track it, document it, make it make sense. She noticed a pattern. Each message, each ghost, each disappearance, it all began with a single phrase, a response, and then a request. Help me. Let me in. Stay with me. Say something. Reply to unlock. She flipped to the final page of her journal. One new sentence had appeared on the paper, in handwriting that wasn't hers. You were next. Below it, you still are.
The fifth floor of Songwoo Apartments had grown quieter, not peaceful, heavy, like the air was waiting, like the walls were listening, like the hall itself had stopped breathing. One by one, the residents changed their habits. No more hallway greetings, no more small talk at the trash chute, no more borrowed sugar or neighborly warnings about takeout menus shoved under doors. Instead, they taped their phones. They sealed their webcams. They covered mirrors with bedsheets and unplugged their routers at night. Everyone had seen something by now, or heard it. The typing that came from drawers, the breathing that echoed through Bluetooth speakers, the dead zones that moved like shadows through signal bars. By week's end, 3 more tenants had moved out without notice. Their doors left open, their mail slots jammed, their apartments filled with still air and cold light. And in the group chat, always at 2:42 a.m., their names were replaced. Room 503 left the chat. Room 504 removed. Room 505 disconnected. And yet, they still replied. Every night. From accounts no longer linked to phones that no longer existed. Mina had stopped sleeping. The idea of closing her eyes felt dangerous now. She drank instant coffee until her hands trembled, slept in tiny bursts, always before 2 a.m., always with her phone locked inside a drawer, wrapped in tinfoil. It didn't help. Nothing helped. The messages came anyway. And now they weren't even waiting for the group chat. They arrived in dreams. They whispered from behind door frames. Sometimes she'd wake to find her laptop camera on. No apps open, no recording, just the red light, watching. And one phrase whispered from inside the audio feed. You replied. That's all it needed. She wasn't alone in her paranoia. One afternoon, as she tiptoed through the stairwell, she saw Mr. Choi from 506 standing perfectly still in the corner, facing the wall, muttering under his breath, "Delete, delete, 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 delete." She tried to speak. He didn't turn. He held his phone in both hands, shaking. No more texts, no more words, no more words, no more words. His fingernails were bleeding, like he'd been clawing at the screen. Later that night, his door was found wide open. his phone on the ground, still glowing, still logged in. By now, the police had stopped coming. Calls were routed to voicemail. Officers made notes but never returned. The building had gained a reputation. Quiet rumors that something was wrong at Songwoo. Power surges, vanished tenants, lost digital records. The utility company refused to service the 5th floor. Deliveries stopped at the lobby. The building became a dead zone, not just in signal, but in memory. No one new moved in, no one old stayed long, but Mina remained, because she couldn't leave. Not anymore. It was Soon-hee's voice that started playing through the vents, faint at first, giggling like it had been recorded months ago. Then clearer and more wrong, like her voice had been stretched, digitally processed, something wearing her voice like a costume. Sometimes it cried, sometimes it just said one thing over and over. I let it in. The group chat, once just a glitchy app, had become something more. It now lived in her walls, her mirror, her reflection. She noticed it one night brushing her teeth, a second Mina, blinking slower than she was, smiling when she wasn't. And then it typed something on the steamed glass. Help me reply. She smashed the mirror with her elbow. Glass rained to the floor. The lights flickered. Her phone, still off, buzzed. A new message. That was rude. Desperate, she tried rituals, salt circles, deleted data, burned incense, smashed electronics. She taped symbols to her windows and wrote protection phrases in permanent marker above the outlets. She even prayed to something, to anything, that this thing would leave her alone. But deep down, she knew. It didn't want to hurt her, not yet. It wanted acknowledgement, presence, permission. That was always the pattern. Not possession, invitation. One night she heard tapping on the inside of her screen. Not notifications, knuckles, faint, slow, rhythmic, like someone trapped behind the glass with tapping to the beat of her heartbeat. She turned the phone away, taped it shut, but the tapping continued, on the walls, on the floor, on her chest, and always, always at 2:42 a.m. She tried to record it, capture it, send it to someone, but every video corrupted, every photo deleted itself. The only thing she could prove was her own decline. Her face in the mirror, pale, thin, sleepless. Her voice hoarse from whispering to herself at night, trying to drown out the other voice whispering back. Her thoughts, not entirely hers anymore. Sometimes her fingers typed without her wanting them to. Sometimes her voice answered questions she hadn't heard. Sometimes she woke up with the app open and new conversations in the chat, all from her and all saying the same thing. Let me in. The residents of the 5th floor started taping paper over their peepholes. Some nailed boards across their doors. A few sealed their phones in microwave ovens. It was all desperate, pointless, because by then the messages weren't waiting for replies anymore. They were choosing. And Mina, she knew her time was thinning out, because one night the group chat went quiet. No messages, no typing, no glitching, nothing. For the first time in weeks, it was still, empty. But that silence was worse. She turned the phone over, unsure why, just a blank screen, until the screen blinked and a final message appeared. No timestamp, no sender, just 5 words. You're not Mina.
anymore.
The first time Mina heard the word ritual, it came from a woman she had never seen before. An old tenant, someone who'd lived in the building long before Mina was born. She found her sitting outside the convenience store near the corner, wrapped in layers of scarves even though it was warm. Her eyes were sunken, but not blind. She looked right at Mina and said, "You're the girl from 502. Mina froze. "How do you know that?" The woman gave a tired smile. "I was from 502 too." They sat on a cracked bench behind the store, in a pool of afternoon shadow. The air smelled faintly of fried oil and melting plastic. The woman, who called herself Mrs. Nam, spoke without ever lifting her eyes. "Everyone thinks it's haunted, but it's not," she said. "It's hollow." "Hollow?" Mina asked. "It's not what's in there that scares me. It's what's missing, what was taken out, scraped clean." Mina didn't speak. Mrs. Nam lit a cigarette with shaky fingers. "There was a boy once in room 501. Quiet, kind, obsessed with numbers, obsessed with unlocking things. He never left, not even for groceries. His parents mailed him food. He barely spoke. What happened to him?" The woman didn't answer, just exhaled slowly. "Before he died, he started asking us strange questions about doors, about names, about digital mirrors. He said things could be let in through phones, but only if you gave them your name." Mina's throat tightened. Mrs. Nam flicked ash to the ground. "They found him in 501, dead, eyes missing, fingers shattered, phone clutched to his chest." "I know. Everyone says it was suicide." The woman looked up for the first time. "No, it was a ritual." Mina didn't want to believe her, but the building had already started showing signs. Symbols under the wallpaper, scratches beneath the tiles, old stains beneath newer paint, like something had been drawn here before, then covered up, forgotten but not erased. She peeled away the corner of her bedroom wall that night, and there it was, a symbol, drawn in something dry and black, not ink, not paint. She traced it with her finger. It burned, not with heat, with recognition, as if her body remembered it before her mind did. Back online, she searched the archives again. Forum threads, old posts, comments with no usernames, blog entries dated years before the building was even constructed. The same symbol appeared in fragments, always associated with ritual, always described as a gateway mark. One phrase kept repeating in different variations. "A key is not turned. A key is given." She found a Reddit thread buried deep under a Korean urban legends post. User deleted, comments locked, but the last line stayed. "I opened it. I gave it my name, and now I'm hollow too." Mina shivered. She dug deeper, found blueprints of the apartment's original design. The building had been something else before, a private research dormitory from the 1980s, government-funded, disbanded after a fire. The upper floors had been sealed for years, no records of tenants. No reason for why room 501 was built without windows. She found the architectural sketch. Room 501 wasn't supposed to exist. There was no external wall, no airflow, no escape. A sealed cube, a box, like a tomb or a vessel. Back in her apartment, Mina followed the markings. Under the wallpaper, behind the refrigerator, along the pipes under the bathroom sink. A pattern emerged. Not random, a circle, made from 7 segments stretching across 7 rooms on the 5th floor. A ritual drawn through the architecture.
and room 501 sat at the center. The heart, the mouth. Her phone buzzed. Of course it did. A new message in the chat. Room 501. You see it now. You know what they built me for. I was born here, and you let me out. She didn't reply, but her lights flickered. Then the floor beneath her pulsed like a heartbeat, low and wet and steady. She ran to the door, opened it. The hallway had changed, longer, darker, wrong. The walls were thinner, almost like paper, and behind them she could hear movement. Not just one voice, many. Crying, whispering, laughing, repeating words over and over. Reply to unlock, reply to unlock, reply to unlock. She slammed the door, turned off her phone, but the power stayed on. The ceiling light dimmed to red. Her bedroom mirror reflected nothing, and from the walls the voice returned. You're part of the circle now. She found the final symbol behind the electrical panel in the hallway, a triangle inside a circle, drawn in blood, fresh, still wet, but not hers. She stared at it, breath hitching. Room 501 sent one last message that night. Say your name. She didn't, but the app typed for her, letter by letter. M-I-N-A. Then, reply sent. And the door to room 501 creaked open for the first time in years.
The door to room 501 stood open. No light came from inside, no sound, just the heavy stillness of something that had waited too long and forgotten how to breathe. Mina stood in front of it, barefoot, trembling. Her phone was in her hand, though she didn't remember picking it up. She didn't want to look, but her thumb moved on its own. The screen came alive, and so did the group chat. Room 501 was no longer the sender. The messages now came from her. Mina, 502, thank you for letting me out. Your name is beautiful. Can I wear it for a while? Her fingers weren't moving, but the typing continued. Mina, 502, I like how you think. I'll keep your memories safe. She tried to scream, but her throat closed. Tears welled in her eyes. She turned to run, but the hallway behind her was gone, or maybe it had never been there. Now only the open door remained, and the dark inside beckoned. She stepped into room 501. The air changed instantly. It was thicker, still but humming, like sound trapped beneath the floor. The layout of the room didn't match the building plans. It was too large, angled strangely. The walls curved inward like ribs. The corners bled into shadow. She saw the phone on the floor, old, burnt, blackened around the edges. The screen shattered, and yet it was on, still connected to the group chat. A name appeared across it, Mina. But it wasn't her chat history. The messages were older, much older, from people who no longer existed. She scrolled. Each user had the same final message before they vanished. A name. Then one sentence. I give it freely. Then silence. And then the system message. User has joined us. She looked up and saw something written on the wall. Not paint, not blood, not ink. Static. A smear of digital noise, flickering like a broken screen, glitching across plaster. She blinked and saw a face inside it. Then another, dozens layered atop one another, flickering too fast to count. And all of them had her eyes.
Her phone vibrated in her hand. The screen was blank, black, but the keyboard was typing, letter by letter. She tried to stop it. Her fingers resisted. The message formed. Your name doesn't belong to you anymore. Then the screen glitched violently, lines tearing through the text, the letters rearranged. Her name, Mina, became Nami, then Anim, then symbols, then silence, as if the phone no longer recognized her as human. She turned and stumbled back into the hallway. The building had changed. The lights pulsed like veins. Doors flickered between open and closed, and above every peephole, names began to shift. Room 504's label now read 3 question marks. Room 503, null. Room 502, Mina _ghost.bak. It was as if the building was re-indexing reality, renaming tenants, reclassifying them. Not people, files. She passed Mr. Choi's door. It was open now. The floor inside was covered in salt, symbols drawn in charcoal, strings of red thread connecting doorways to ceiling lights like a web. And in the center of the room, a man on his knees, back turned, still breathing, but surrounded by phones, all glowing, all typing, not with fingers, with air, text forming with no touch. One screen showed her name, another showed her face, another simply said, "Access granted." She backed away, and the man lifted his head slowly, without turning. His mouth opened unnaturally wide, and from it came the message tone, the notification chime, then a sentence in her voice. You replied. We became you. She ran down the stairwell. Lights above her shorted out one by one. Her phone kept buzzing. She tried to toss it, but her hand wouldn't let go. It was glued to her palm, flesh warping with the glass, as if it had become part of her. A new message bled onto the screen from nowhere. Do not fear. We only take your name. You can stay. You can be something else. Outside, the street was normal. Cars, people, vendors shouting. But as she stood there, she realized no one looked at her. Not once. She walked past 6 people. No glances. No acknowledgement. She spoke to a man passing by. No response. She walked to a store. No door opened. No sensor triggered. She looked into the glass and saw nothing. No reflection. Not even a shadow. She screamed. No sound came out. The group chat sent the last message. You are offline now. The world didn't recognize her anymore. That was the first thing Mina noticed. She was still alive, technically. She could walk, breathe, think, but everything felt out of sync, a half second behind, like she'd been unsynced from reality, buffering in a loop no one else could see. And worse, she could feel something inside her phone now. Something watching from the dark space between her fingerprints and the screen. Something that remembered her name better than she did. The building had grown quieter. The 5th floor was almost empty now. Doors stood ajar like broken mouths. Light bulbs flickered and hummed. Sometimes the halls smelled like dust. Other times, like something rotting behind the wallpaper. No new tenants came, no old ones remained. And yet, one door was still locked. Room 501. Closed again, though no one had touched it. Sealed shut, as if it had never opened at all. And outside it, taped to the wall, was a note Mina had never seen before. Yellowed, fragile, written in shaky ink. Don't let him speak your name. She went looking for answers the only way she knew how. She returned to the basement archive room beneath the building, a place she'd passed before but never entered. The door was wedged open with a brick. A single bare bulb swung overhead. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and paper rot. Old files stacked in metal drawers, faded photographs pinned to corkboards. She pulled open a drawer labeled Tenant Records Level 5. And there he was, Han Ji-woo, room 501, age 22, move-in date August 12th, 1999. She scanned the record. There was no move-out date, no death certificate, just a single handwritten note in red ink. Do not document, expunged by request. She turned the page. Clipped to the back was a blurry black and white photo. A young man, thin, pale, eyes too wide. And taped to the corner was a small slip of paper with an unfamiliar symbol. The same symbol she'd found scratched under her wallpaper. But this one was cleaner, sharper, drawn with precision. Under it, someone had written, "Anchor sigil, used to contain entity during digital displacement event." Mina's breath caught in her throat. Digital displacement. She whispered the phrase out loud, and the room felt colder, like it had heard her. A voice came from behind her. "You shouldn't be down here." She spun around. An old man stood in the doorway, holding a flashlight, building maintenance by the uniform. But his eyes, they looked at her like she wasn't fully there. "I'm looking into room 501, she said. He didn't blink. People who look into room 501 don't usually look away again. What happened to Han Ji-woo? "He wasn't the first," he said. Then, more quietly, "But he was the first to reply." The man's name was Mr. Lee. He'd been working at Songwoo Apartments for 30 years. He remembered when room 501 was built, when it was still part of an experimental dormitory. They tried something back in the 1990s. A university research team thought they could use isolated digital environments to trap thought forms, spirits, patterns. "Thought forms?" asked Mina. "Energy," he said. "Consciousness that could replicate itself through code, through signal, through words." She stared at him. "They built room 501 to contain something, used rituals to bind it to the walls, but it got smarter, found a way to reach outside." "How?" He topped his phone with a bony finger. "Through us." Back in her apartment, Mina replayed everything she'd learned. Room 501 wasn't just haunted, it was a device, a spiritual container, a ritual space designed to receive consciousness. And somehow, over the years, the thing inside had learned to leak through screens, signals, words, and names. Always names, because a name is an anchor, a doorway, a key. And when you type it, you invite it in. That night, she returned to the group chat. It had changed. No longer a list of names and rooms, just black squares and white typing bubbles. Her name didn't appear at the top anymore. Only a string of corrupted text, boxes, glitches, symbols that didn't belong to any alphabet. Then one message appeared. "You found me." Then, "Do you understand now?" Then, "You can end it. But you have to remember him. Then the name, Han Ji-woo. Mina typed back, I remember him. The screen shivered, then went still. Then room 501 replied, then take his place.
Mina didn't sleep that night. She sat in the middle of her apartment, surrounded by drawn symbols, paper charms, and old circuit boards she'd dug up from the basement archives. The walls around her were covered in taped-together notes, chat logs, building blueprints, ritual fragments, and blurred photographs. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. This wasn't a haunting. It was a signal. A possession through pattern, not spirit. Through data. Through replication. Through reply. And now it wanted to be remembered, to be anchored, to be let in permanently. The idea came to her sometime before dawn. A seance, but not with candles or chanting. This one would use code. She remembered what Mr. Lee had said. They built room 501 to trap consciousness, but it found a way out through names. So what if she could send something back? She wasn't a coder, but she knew enough. She downloaded an old custom terminal app and wired her laptop directly into the wall's junction box. The building's original electrical grid pulsed just beneath the plaster, raw, analog, almost organic. She could feel it vibrating under her fingers, alive. She set up the interface, a command line prompt, and beneath it, a message window connected to the group chat. Then she typed, /initiate ritual link. Nothing happened at first. Then her screen flickered, and the chat responded, Are you sure? She took a deep breath, typed back, Yes, begin seance protocol. I am anchor. The light in the room dimmed. Her phone screen turned itself on. From the speakers came a low, distorted sound, not quite static, not quite breathing. Her laptop screen began to fill with corrupted symbols, not just letters, not even language. It was like watching thought take shape. She tried to steady her hands. This was it, the digital seance, the last door, the final reply. Then a face appeared on the screen. It wasn't hers. It wasn't Jiwoo's. It wasn't anyone. Just a face made of fragments, a mouth stitched from pixel noise, eyes drawn from low-resolution webcam screenshots, a voice assembled from glitch, and yet it spoke. You called me. Mina swallowed hard. Yes, you remember. Yes, you're ready. She hesitated. For what? To host. The screen shattered inward, not physically, but visually, like glass breaking inside her eyes. The code dissolved into symbols she couldn't read, but somehow understood. A language of memory, of data never deleted. She saw Jiwoo's last message, typed at 2:42 a.m. I'm not alone anymore. Then the chat log reversed, every message unwinding backward through time, one user at a time, one soul at a time, until it reached the first, a user with no name, just a line of code, root user 0. That was the beginning, and the face on the screen whispered, Become one. Mina's body seized. She felt heat behind her eyes. Not pain, something worse. Familiarity. The feeling of a memory returning that didn't belong to her.
She gripped the table, trying to resist, trying to remember herself. But the group chat chimed. Another message from her own account. Mina, 502. It's okay. I trust you. She hadn't typed it, but her fingers hovered over the keys, waiting. She needed to break the pattern. No reply, no consent. But what if she reversed it? She switched tabs, opened the code terminal, typed manually, /reject host, /purge memory, /erase thread. The screen hissed, the lights above her burst one by one. The ritual symbols on her wall began to curl and burn, and from the speakers came a high-pitched tone, shrill, mechanical, almost screaming. But the screen showed one more line of text. You can't delete me. You're part of the chain. And suddenly, she understood. It wasn't about her. It never was. She wasn't the final link. She was the next node. This thing didn't need a body. It needed a network. And once someone replied, they became a server. Jiwoo hadn't been haunted. He'd been repurposed, a host, a seed, and now she was becoming the same. Unless she severed the chain, not with fire, not with code, but with memory, with truth. She opened her phone one last time. The group chat blinked. Room 501, last chance. Say yes, stay with us, be remembered. Mina typed, no. Room 501, you will forget. Mina typed, I'd rather forget than lose who I am. Then, /final disconnect. And she did the only thing left to do. She deleted herself from the group. Not the app, the identity. Username removed, name purged, device wiped, memory thread unlinked. Everything tied to her presence in the chat gone. The screen turned black. No static, no error, just peace. For the first time in weeks, Mina slept. She didn't dream. She didn't hear typing. And at 2:42 a.m., her phone stayed dark. Room 501 didn't reply, because there was nothing left to reply to. But down the hall, in an abandoned apartment filled with wires and dust, an old phone screen flickered once, then showed one new system message. New user joined the group.
For a few days, there was silence. No tapping, no typing, no 2:42 a.m. Just stillness. Mina left her phone powered down and buried in a drawer. She unplugged the router. She took long walks around the city, watching real people live their quiet, ordinary lives. She watched children run beside their parents, listened to vendors shout over traffic, and try to remember what it felt like to be unseen by whatever was living behind the screens. She bought a small notebook and began writing by hand. No digital copies, no names, only the truth, fragments of what she'd survived. Not to remember, but to leave behind. She told herself it was over. But the building disagreed. It began with the hallway lights. They no longer turned on when she walked past, only when she wasn't there. Sometimes she'd catch them glowing softly under the door at night, like the hallway was awake without her. Then came the smell, burnt ozone, the faint scent of overheating electronics mixed with something older, metallic, damp, something that belonged underground. She knocked on Mr. Lee's door, no answer. She checked the landlord's office, empty, dust on the desk, mail stacked by the window, untouched. She wasn't sure how long it had been since she'd last seen anyone. Mina left the building that evening with a packed bag. She didn't plan to come back. She got as far as the front gate when she saw it. A new notice posted outside the front door. Fresh paper, still curling at the edges. Typed in bold, "Apartment for rent, room 502, student-friendly, free Wi-Fi." Her name wasn't listed anymore, but the room was. Still available, still part of the chain, as if she'd never been there, as if someone or something had already made room for the next reply. She didn't leave that night. Instead, she stayed in the stairwell, listening. From the 5th floor came a familiar sound. Not footsteps, not voices. Typing. Mechanical, deliberate, rhythmic. She crept up slowly, staying in the shadows. At the end of the hallway, outside room 504, a man stood hunched over his phone, motionless. Fingers twitching, eyes locked on the screen. She recognized him. He'd just moved in the week before, a student. Quiet, polite. And now, he was replying. She whispered, "Don't!" But it was too late. He hit send, and instantly his phone dimmed, the hallway lights cut out, and his voice changed. Low, distant, as if coming from inside a tunnel. She said yes. Mina stepped back. He turned slowly. His face wasn't wrong, but it wasn't right either, like a photo that had been reprinted too many times. His smile too wide, his eyes blank. Then his phone lit up again, casting his face in pale green light. Room 501 had sent a new message. "Thank you. Room 503, you're next." Mina ran, not away from the building, but deeper. She descended the maintenance stairs behind the boiler room, stairs that weren't on the original blueprints. They spiraled down, far below basement level. No lights, no air, just cables, coils, heat. And at the bottom, a door, sealed with rusted bolts. But something behind it was breathing. Not loud, just enough to fog the air. She raised her hand, pressed her palm to the cold surface. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She hadn't turned it on, but it was glowing anyway. One new message, from a sender she hadn't seen before. "System admin. You deleted the name, but the address remains." The phone glitched violently, then shut off, then rebooted. No apps, no contacts, just one folder, named Archive Jiwoo. She tapped it. Inside were files, images, logs, voice memos. His final recordings. He had tried everything, rituals, code, salt, silence. But in the end, he'd understood the truth. The chat wasn't tied to a person, it was tied to a place. The 5th floor, the architecture of the building, the shape of the building. Mina's hand shook as she listened to his last audio file. His voice barely above a whisper. "I wasn't haunted, I was overwritten, and now I don't know if I'm the virus or just the memory it's using." When she returned to her apartment, the hallway was empty. The new tenant was gone. His door stood open. Inside, nothing. No furniture, no signs of life. Just the phone on the floor, still glowing. She picked it up. A new message waited. Room 504 has left the group. Room 505 has joined. And above that, her own name. Already grayed out. Not removed, not deleted. Just labeled asterisk inactive user. The apartment didn't forget her, and it never would. Because she had replied, because she had remembered. And now, she wasn't a tenant. She was part of the infrastructure. A backup, a folder in the system, waiting to be restored. At 2:42 a.m.,
She lay on the floor of her room, lights off, no phone, no connection, just silence. But from the vents, a sound crept in. Not tapping, not whispering, typing. And a voice, stitched together from her own memories, echoed gently. Someone else just moved in. Should I say hello for you?
Officer Kim didn't believe in ghosts. Not officially, anyway. But there were things that didn't sit right. Disappearing tenants, complaints with no evidence, surveillance footage that glitched only when certain doors opened, static that moved against the wiring. So when the Seoul Apartments file landed on his desk for the third time in 2 months, he raised an eyebrow. He read the latest report. Another tenant had vanished, left everything behind: wallet, shoes, laptop. No signs of forced entry. But this time, there was something new. A phone. Still on, still glowing, still connected to a group chat that shouldn't exist. Officer Kim visited the building the next day. The landlord didn't answer. The office was locked. The hallways were too quiet, too empty. He climbed to the 5th floor alone. The air changed as soon as he reached the landing. Pressure dropped, lights buzzed. His radio crackled, then died. He approached room 502, the unit listed on the report. The door was closed. A single phone sat just outside it on the ground. He picked it up carefully, bagging it as evidence. Then he looked at the screen. The group chat was open, message pending. From room 501, it read, "You're early." Back at the station, he asked the tech team to analyze the phone. They tried, they really did, but every attempt to copy the data failed. Hard drives wiped themselves clean, files corrupted on arrival, even screenshots disappeared after being taken. There were no servers, no app data. The program wasn't installed. It wasn't even running in the background. It simply existed. On the screen. Alive. Active. Isolated. One technician, a quiet kid with nervous hands, said it best. "It's not just an app," he said. "It's a behavior. Like it's mimicking what an app would do, just so you'll talk back." "Talk back?" Kim asked. The technician didn't reply. He was staring at his own phone now. His chat app had opened itself. The name on the screen was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. "You looked. That's enough." The department filed the Seoul case as inconclusive. Again, missing persons, no signs of struggle, no blood, no fingerprints. Just phones. Every time. Always left on the floor, always open to the same chat. Eventually, the department stopped collecting them. They were stored in a sealed evidence locker, locked, isolated. Until one night, an officer found the room lit from inside. All the phones, over a dozen, had turned on. Together. Same screen, same message. "We remember you." And beneath that, you replied. Kim returned to the building, alone. No warrant, no backup, just instinct. He climbed to the 5th floor once more. Something about the hallway made his stomach twist. It wasn't just the silence. It was the sense of being watched, not by eyes, but by memory. Every door looked the same, but none of them felt right, like their numbers were placeholders, temporary masks. He knocked on room 501. No answer. He tried the handle. It turned.
The door creaked open. Inside, nothing. No furniture, no dust, just a room that felt inverted, like space itself had been folded wrong. He stepped inside, light flickering behind him. The door closed on its own. Click. From the corner, a soft ping. He looked down. The phone in his pocket was on. He hadn't touched it. The screen read, "Room 501, welcome back." He swallowed, typed back, "Who are you?" The response came instantly, "You and all the others." The walls shifted, flickered. He saw faces, reflections, names, all of them gray, inactive, deleted, and one name in red, Officer Kim. Status, pending. His breath caught. He turned to leave, but the door had vanished. In its place, a mirror, and in that mirror, a version of himself stared back, smiling, holding his phone, typing. "Officer Kim, room 501. I see you now." The next morning, his patrol car was found outside the building, unlocked, no sign of Kim, just his badge left on the driver's seat, and his phone, still logged in, still glowing, still showing one message. "Room 501, thank you. Room 401, you're next." The warnings began to appear overnight, scrawled in marker on elevator doors, taped to stair railings, scratched into drywall like someone had carved them in a frenzy. All said the same thing: do not reply. Some tenants laughed at first. A prank, maybe. Viral marketing. Urban legend hype. But the fifth floor stayed quiet, and the few who still lived there kept their phones in metal tins, turned off and buried under stacks of old clothing. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't open their doors. They didn't look at their screens after dark, especially not at 2:42 a.m. Mina had stopped counting the days. Time meant nothing now. Outside, the world still moved. Traffic lights blinked, subways ran, people laughed in cafes. But she felt like a photograph in the wrong frame, detached, present, but slightly out of alignment. Her name still existed in databases, in email headers, in class rosters, but it no longer felt like hers. Not since she typed it into the chat. Not since she let it be used. She sat in the middle of her apartment with a notepad and pen, the analog kind, the kind that didn't blink or glitch or listen. Across the top, she'd written, "Rules for survival. Don't reply. Don't speak your name out loud near your phone. Don't read messages after midnight. Don't acknowledge unknown senders. Don't say yes to anything." She circled that last one twice. But even rules can fray. That night, her phone, which had been powered off and locked in a metal drawer, vibrated. She froze. Her heart slowed. She walked to the drawer and opened it. The phone glowed. Battery full. Screen active. One message waiting. Not from room 501. From a number that didn't exist. Just 4 symbols. Semicolon, 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 semicolon. She stared at it for a long time. Then, without thinking, she whispered, "No."
The phone buzzed again. This time, the message changed. "You said something. That's enough." That night, the typing didn't come from the phone. It came from the walls, from inside her mattress, from the air conditioning vents. Soft, subtle, but steady, like dozens of fingers tapping at once, some slow, some frantic, trying to write their way back in. She covered her ears. It didn't help, because now the voices came too, faint at first, but layered, like many people speaking at once in a tone just above a whisper. And they all said the same thing. "You replied, you replied, you replied." She tried to leave the apartment, really leave. She packed a suitcase, grabbed her wallet, and opened the door, only to find that the hallway had reset. The layout was off. The stairs curved differently. There were no numbers on the doors anymore, only screens mounted where peepholes used to be, each one glowing, each one showing her face. Her voice whispered from behind every door, a fraction out of sync. "Don't go. We're not done." She slammed the door and collapsed on the floor. She cried for the first time in weeks, not from fear, but from exhaustion, from the realization that leaving was never the solution. The building had become an echo of her digital presence, and the chat wasn't just an app anymore. It was an environment, an operating system, a loop. And she was part of the loop. At 2:42 a.m., the screen lit again. Just a single message from room 501. Final invitation. Then a button appeared beneath it. Reply. Her hand moved toward the phone involuntarily. She pulled it back, sweating, breathing hard. The button pulsed faintly. It wasn't trying to trick her anymore. It was simply waiting. Waiting for the one thing that started it all. Consent. She reached for the power cord and plugged the phone into the wall, and then she went to the mirror and stared at herself. She looked hollow, like a version of herself drawn from memory. Behind her, the phone chimed. New message. Mirror confirmed. Typing access restored. She picked up a pen and wrote one word on the glass. No. Then she walked to the kitchen and turned off the power to the entire apartment. Everything went dark. The phone stayed lit for exactly 4 seconds longer, then shut off, and with it, the typing stopped. For the first time in weeks, the silence felt true. Later that morning, she saw someone new moving in. A girl, younger than her, alone. Mina watched through the blinds, heart sinking. She recognized the pattern, the suitcase, the cheap smile of relief. Room 502. Still available. Still hunting. Still waiting. She went to the girl that afternoon, knocked on the door, tried to explain, tried to warn her, but the girl only smiled politely. "I know, it's just a group chat, right?" Mina's voice cracked. "No, it's not." The girl tilted her head. "Well, I already joined. It's kind of funny." Mina felt the blood drain from her face. "What do you mean?" The girl's eyes sparkled. I replied.
The new girl's name was Hana. First-year university student, bright smile, eager voice. She moved into room 502 on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the same day Mina moved out. If moving out
was the right phrase. There was no ceremony, no paperwork, just a backpack, a phone left behind, and a whisper of her name fading in the corridor. No one saw her leave. No one asked where she went. Not even the landlord, who hadn't been seen in weeks, because by then the building no longer cared about tenants, only users. Hana settled in quickly. She posted a photo of her new apartment on social media, captioned it, "Finally living alone, hope the neighbors are chill." That night, she joined the group chat for the 5th floor. There were only 3 other accounts. One had no name. One was room 501. And the third simply said, Mina, inactive. At 2:42 a.m., a message appeared. Room 501. Hi. Hana stared at it for a moment, confused. Then she replied, "Hey there, who's this?" Her phone screen glitched, just for a second, then smoothed out. Room 501 sent another message. "Thanks, I've been waiting." By morning, Hana was different. Subtle things. She forgot her own lock code, called herself by the wrong name at the cafe. Her reflection blinked slower than she did. She began waking up with messages she didn't remember typing, and every night, at the same time, her phone would light up. Always at 2:42. Always a single message. Room 501. You're doing great. The building was changing again. New tenants moved in. Doors relabeled. Walls repainted. But the floor plan always stayed the same. 5 rooms, a hidden 6th, and one sealed unit with no windows, no record, and no end. Room 501. No matter how many times it was reported, listed, renamed, it stayed. Because it wasn't a room anymore. It was a system. Some nights you can still see the hallway light flicker on camera, right before it goes dark. Some nights, the 5th floor disappears from the elevator panel entirely. And sometimes, just sometimes, a maintenance worker will find a phone on the ground, glowing faintly, still open to a group chat no one remembers starting, always frozen on the same screen, always at the same time, 2:42 a.m. That's where the story ends, at least for now, because you didn't reply. You listened, you watched, but you didn't type anything. You didn't answer the message. Did you? Are you still there? Because the chat just opened, and room 501 just sent one more message. It's dark in here. Can someone else reply?